So just to give you a little background, my background is in fashion and beauty and advertising. And I started doing fine art probably, I don't know, as a little kid. And photography, I started really when I was about 8 years old. I asked my dad for my first camera. He owned a printing company. So as a little kid, I would go into the dark room and, you know, kind of watch the magic, and was always curious as to why things were more like 2D instead of 3D. So I asked him for a 3D camera. So he came back with a little plastic camera that was a 3M. So somehow throughout my work, I'm always trying to create dimensionality. And this project came about yesterday and today, basically on COVID. When COVID happened, my husband and I were going to try and take a long distant trip across, basically just keep going until we found places that we liked. He's also a photographer, so we used to photograph a lot together. And I also take a lot of my photographs and I apply them to textiles. So at the time, I actually knew that COVID was coming because I was waiting for an order of samples from China. And they had told me about this virus in January and that it would get delivered in February. And do I still want
I think, just let me interrupt you because I want you to go full screen.
Okay, I will. So here's the first image.
Thank you.
And it's composited imagery, which was done in studio and also on location. And then I paint on top of it. And these were meant to be part of a project that I started being an artist. Liam and some of the people from ASMP sent out an email asking if I wanted to go ahead and do a project during COVID. And I thought, okay, I've been shooting anyway, and this sounds like a great idea. So I took from another project that I had worked before called Cosmic Beauty and sort of elaborated on it. And I'm trying to do pairings. So these two, I think, work together, but I don't necessarily want to put them side by side. This is an underwater shot, actually, of roses that I lit in a pool and then solarized. This is my homage to Man Ray. These are underwater roses again. This was a beauty shot that actually I did on my couch with Holga, and then took floral and kind of added a little painting on top of it.
So I think, can you give us a little sense of like what motivates you to come up with this and try that, and you know, that sort of that process a little bit?
Yeah, I'm really didactic. I mean, I pretty much learn on my own. I just sort of gravitate towards taking different mediums, whether I've always been into collaging, whether it's ripping up old prints or painting and adding that together. And then I started doing it with photography. I started with film. So some of these are actually film, some of it is digital, some of it is double exposure in camera.
Okay.
And
when you shot advertising work, were you doing this type of work?
No, actually, when advertising is very different.
I know. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it's
to understand the
you know,
process.
I've done weddings, and I've actually, you know, shot Hillary Clinton for her foundation. So this is not the type of stuff that I would show to that type of client. This is really, really going out there and trying to do fine art.
Right.
Although a perfume company did come to me actually to do a big building for their architecture, you know, that was being redone, which I thought was a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
Because I love flowers. And this actually is called The Poet's Eye. And it's a white flower, to give you an idea. So it's solarized and just totally manipulated. Here is 35 millimeter. You can see it, and it was just film strip, and I was just playing around with roses again on top of her and thought it was pretty cool. I also did her in studio and a model. That was a small little flower. This is very layered and nuanced. It was part of actually, Dugal wanted it for their light box. So I had actually had some prints, and I was selling some prints but that were large format, and he ended up using some in the office there.
Wow.
So really the intent of my work is really to make people see beauty in a different way, and nature. And this is actually, I do a lot of styling as well. So I picked out the cause, and it was actually going to be a part of a plastic surgery editorial that I worked on.
Wow.
More flowers. And this is from Cosmic Beauty, which was initially a book that I did just on my own, just to try and like show people how accepting different ideas of beauty. I've worked on a lot of beauty campaigns and have done castings for them. So I was always like really happy when Clinique came out with like a beauty campaign that just elaborated on all the different types of skin tones. So I took it a step further, basically, and just kind of made it unrecognizable. And this is paginated as well. Like, that was part of the Cosmic Beauty. So,
Eileen, when you create these pieces, how long does it take, and how many times do you go back? Oh, I got to do a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, or are you easy as far as saying, I got it?
It depends. You know, I can work on something for like 8 hours or 3 days, and then I can just say, forget about it. I'm just going to get rid of it and start over. And then I could just do something immediately. I mean, my whole idea of beauty when I was actually shooting was in studio was never to do any retouching, because I've seen so much of beauty with tons of retouching. So I think the whole thing about portraiture is really capturing the essence of someone. I mean, this was done on a white cyc.
Yeah. And do you, collaboration is the wrong word, but do you go to your husband, what do you think, you know, just to get input on technique or color or any of that?
Oh yeah.
You do?
I think I'm just totally out there, because I mean, his work is very much like Lynn's.
Okay.
But we did work together as a couple at one point when we were going to start to really see whether we could take off commercially, because I've been on the other end of the industry,
Okay.
a lot of different ends of the industry. I've had a printing background. I started Art Partners. Before that, I worked as an agent with Xavier Moreau as a young agent. So
wow,
I had a lot of background back and forth.
Monroe, my God.
Yeah, with Helmut Newton, you know.
Right.
So really just getting out there and starting to get it out to galleries. It's, you know, it's an unusual, you know, process, I think, because I go to a lot of galleries. I go to the museum. I've been doing that since I was a kid.
Right.
So now, you know, I'm starting to get selling prints, and that's another part of it, which I think Pamela was really great about. Like, I did Aqua with Liam and Pamela and Sherry Littlefield, and Ted and Noonan and Ted were also exhibiting at the time. So it's been really, you know, good camaraderie.
Right.
And the work is very different.
Yeah. That helps, right? When you're doing that collaboration, that everyone's got their own sort of space, right? Their own style, right?
Yeah, because you borrow from everything, you know. I mean, there's so much media out there that people, I know, you know, ASMP has been fabulous as far as, you know, rights and usages, and there's like a middle, you know, muddled ground basically on what you can do. And in the art world, I think people are like, you know, Richard Prince, okay? He took pictures off the, you know, iPhone or the internet and then blew them up, and then he was in APAD, and everybody was like, how can he do that? You know, and there's art, there's a thought process behind it. You know, it's possible to do. So you have to be really careful, I guess, with what's going on in the internet as well.
I'm surprised that the system didn't break down at the mention of Richard Prince, but that's a whole other story.
Oh, no, I actually admire his work. You know, I think we're all nurses at this point.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But, I mean, ASMP has been like really helpful. They do all these wonderful, like fine art, you know, talks, and I mean it's just been really great. And actually for me, for getting the work out there, it's actually helped, because you know, it's one thing to sell a print that, you know, one at a time, one off, but you really have to know, like, okay, I'm only going to do 3 of one size, and then I'm just going to say I'm not doing any more, you know.
Right. And how do you come up with your pairings?
How do I do the pairing?
Yeah, like, yeah, I mean, what's your,
you know, I do little thumbnails and I start moving things around, and some of them are, you know, very contrasty, some complement each other. My colors are super saturated. I showed, like, I've been going to Staley Weiss Gallery for a long time, and because I love her, you know, the fashion photography that she has there. And I went to Lillian Bassman exhibit like in 2017. And for some reason, I went back like 3 days later and I saw her talking, and I was just talking to her, and she goes, what are you doing? And I said, oh, you know, I'm doing a book on cosmic beauty. And I go, she goes, you want to see? Can I see? And I had on my iPhone a black and white portrait and a rose, like huge. And she goes, oh my God, I'm doing the APAD show. Can I borrow this idea? And I'm like, absolutely, because it'll be so different.
right?
You know. So I think there's a lot of sharing that goes on, but so anything else?
No, oh, so that's it. That's
it right now. That's all it. That's
beautiful. All. Great. Well, yeah, yeah, the work is beautiful. It's very compelling how, you know, like for someone who doesn't have that gift to look at that and just see that it all works. Like as you work with your colors and your framing and everything, that it comes together. It's really beautiful. Really
Thank
beautiful.
you.
So do you have any, so what galleries are you represented in?
I'm not. I'm really just starting out, you know. I mean, part of the idea of being an artist was to really, you know, like work on a project, and I'm always working on projects that, you know, I mean, you don't really go in there, you go in with a body of work. And I have another side of me because I do a lot of travel. So I was working on totally different, just very tonal, abstract landscapes that were very small. And these I, you know, think are meant to be very large to go into.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Thanks.
And everybody in the chat room is just loving these images. So
really?
yeah, I have
Thank
to
you.
say, everyone, beautiful images, love the work, you know, on and on and on. So that's
I mean, it comes from imagination, really. I mean, you know, there's a model, there's flowers, and I like to deconstruct things. You know, I love flowers, I love nature and color.
Yeah.
My husband's actually, he's really into the zone system in black and white, and just, he's beautiful.
But it works for both of you, right? He's into black and white, you're into saturation.
Yeah, I always call him Kubrickian, and I'm like Man Ray, you know, just totally off the wall. But I love Blumenfeld. I mean, you know, there's so many influences. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, Marilyn Minter, you know, it's like.
Just great.